In a second, this is the Stop White People program that they're doing at Binghamton, and we'll get right to it. Has anybody seen the photo that is going around of the Texas Department of Public Works employee who there was a flood and he had to get down into a pipe, and I believe he was trying to shut off a water line. But he had to go underwater in order to do it. You see him head first going into this muddy water. It is the coolest photo, and it's all over the web right now. Manaski's not coming by to see it, and there you have it. It's mud. It's mud and muck, and you see half his body submerged in. You think maybe he's dead, but he's moving, and that's a pretty dedicated employee, right?
Well, we're sure it's mud, right?
I'm pretty sure it's probably a little bit of everything. Little sludge in there, too. Okay, tell me whether you think this is a true story or not. I have a couple of doozies here. How about a woman in New York City who clearly is crazy, was angry and a bit deranged, and she threw into a subway car a whole bunch of insects and bugs onto people. True or not true?
Well, I know how this works.
It's true. A crazed woman trying to sell crickets and worms on a D train suddenly got upset and threw them all over the crowded car, sending chaos throughout the car and throughout the community and the commute.
I can laugh because I wasn't in there. I would have been flipping out, too.
The woman walked into the train car at about 6 p.m. Wednesday, made a pitch for passengers because she was trying to sell her chirping insects. A group of teenagers pushed her, prompting, which is terrible. I mean, you see some of these punks that deserved I don't even know what. Anyway, it prompted her to freak out. She tossed the box of pests into the air all over to the patrons on the subway train. True story. In Florida, in Orlando, of all places, Orlando. I'll tell you right off the bat, this is true. Popping balloons prompted an active shooter scare in a mall in Florida.
This was the same mall that there was an active shooter. Was it earlier this year?
Yeah, these balloons were popping, and everybody panicked, and all of a sudden, police stormed in and the whole 9 yards, and turns out it was just balloons. But I guess, the fact that there was a shooting prior has people on edge.
And, so balloons are now banned.
There was such a rush to get out of the mall that like a dozen people got hurt. Trampled, I guess. I don't know exact, but I know there were several injuries. The other thing was the balloons were popping. It was a grand opening for one of the guys from InSync is opening up a restaurant there, and they were the balloons that were on display. I don't know if he popped them on purpose or what happened, but yeah, everybody was thinking it was another tragedy.
There's a new law in effect, and this is in Texas, where if you're behind in your child support. And I'd like to know what you think about this. Maybe this should be done in New York. Maybe it shouldn't be done anywhere. If you're behind in your child support by 6 months, you'll not be able to register a vehicle. So the one thing that's kind of difficult, and people are complaining about this, is the fact that, well, if you're behind in your child support, chances are it's because you're not making enough money. And if you don't have a car, and you're probably not going to be able to get to work to be able to make money to pay off, it's kind of a catch-22.
I agree. I agree with you. I don't think this is the best way to handle this because you're probably right. I'm sure there are some cases where people are just going, I'm not going to pay it. But in other cases, it's people who can't afford to pay it. So then if they don't have a car, how do they get a job or get to and from work? And then they're never going to be able to pay it. Yeah,
you see some cases where people have to do weekend duty in jail over child support. And Concord, North Carolina, you ready? A church there is raising a few eyebrows. And they're having a typical Wednesday night. There's a banner outside their church, and they're having a special meeting, a prayer group meeting on Wednesday night. It's called Racist Anonymous. It's a typical Wednesday inside Trinity United Church of Christ. The choir was practicing, and down the hall, a weekly meeting, but this one was Racist Anonymous. Quote, well, some people say they're racist, and some people say they're not sure. But we're becoming clearer and clearer on the unconscious racism that we all carry. It's a way to address one's own racism as a spiritual practice and discipline. Pastor Nathan King said about a dozen people show up each week for the meeting. This comes at a time when the subject of racism in America is front and center. So some people are showing up because they think they might be racist, and they're doing it almost like an Alcoholics Anonymous. What do you think?
Well, because there is a...
I mean, they're showing up. Maybe they don't want... They feel they might be racist, and they want to shed themselves of it.
I can't think of the word I want to use. There's a feeling, there is a thought that's being spread around that everyone is racist, and you just can't help it. You're born that way. And I think, as you just mentioned, some of the people there say, I'm not racist, but everyone's telling me I just am because I was born that way, so I have to go and get a cure for myself.
Well, those people are stupid.
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
And now, on his final day, our intern Angelo would like to speak.
Listen, I just go for the hors d'oeuvres. That's all I'm going to say.
It's our Donald Trump intern. What are we going to do with that when he goes back to school?
A sigh of relief.
When he goes to 10th grade. Is it 10th grade you're going to?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
You're going to be driving next year, huh?
Oh, yeah. My big rig. Woo. Guys Expo. Woo.
Okay. Public University. He's filling in for me next week. I'm off. Public University in New York says the Stop White People 2K16 hashtag used as the title of a recent training session at Binghamton University was chosen for its irony and the session about diversity. It was not anti-white. I think whoever set this thing up, I do believe they got exactly what they wanted. National headlines.
Right.
Binghamton University administrator issued an explanation Wednesday and said the title and criticism of it are making the rounds on social media. The optional one-time session this month was organized by 3 student resident advisors as part of a training program for other RAs. Student Affairs VP Brian Rose says its purpose was to facilitate a discussion around issues of diversity, an effort he supports, and that the organizers borrowed the session's title from a familiar Twitter hashtag. Much of the criticism implied that the university was teaching a racist course. And as a matter of fact, if you look around the web, you'll find that some stories actually have been published that are saying that that's what they are doing. They're teaching an anti-white course at Binghamton College or University, I think is what they call themselves now. But, you know, what they're trying to go with here is had they said there's a course, come to our course on diversity, no one would have paid attention and no one would have showed. So they came up with hashtag Stop White People 2016, and it has worked. It's gotten everything they wanted out of it.
I agree. If this was a course, if this was legitimately a course where they were trying to teach something that, like, white people are terrible, I would agree that this is obviously wrong, but it's something that I think they did to get some attention, and probably because RAs probably don't often come to this one-time training session.
Right.
They probably wanted to get some headlines and get everybody there.
Yeah.
It probably worked.
Here's what they wrote. The premise of the session is to help others take the next step in understanding diversity, privilege, and the society we function within. Learning about these topics is a good first step, but we encountered with good arguments from uneducated people. How do you respond? This open discussion will give attendees the tools to do so and hopefully expand upon what they may already know. But what I find interesting about this story are the number of stories across the country that actually didn't do any due diligence whatsoever and just ran the story that at Binghamton University, they're teaching a hate course on white people. That's how bad it has gotten onto the college campuses in America.
I agree 100%, Bill. And CNN's story, there's no caption on this picture, and I don't know if this is a picture from Binghamton University, but it's all white kids. It's all a bunch of white kids.
Oh, so I believe that the ones who organized, the RAs who organized it, were white.
And the other thing is,
they were looking to, as we said in the old days, get a rise out of people.
If, in fairness, if this was called Stop Hispanics 2016, it wouldn't fly.
Or Stop Blacks or anything like that. Probably not. But the Hispanic students could have done the same thing to get a rise out of people, and an African American could as well.
Hispanic students organized
it'd be the same thing.
You're right.
But again, this catches a different crowd that's saying, "Look, this is how bad it's gotten in America. Look at what they're doing," and they run the story just as it's being taught that white people are really bad. Okay. Well, listen, there are some white people that are bad, but I'm assuming there are some of other colors and other races and all of that are bad too.